You have probably heard the advice to be consistent on social media. Everybody says it. You should post 1 time a day, 3 times a day. Whatever the magical number people say you should post on social media is, the overall sentiment is that the key to growing on social media is to be consistent. But what people don't tell you is that being consistent on social media is really hard, especially if you were somebody who I'm sure you are if you're watching this, where you don't just want to get a bunch of random followers, you don't just want to go viral, you actually want to make social media your business, your job. You want to start a movement, have a community. Maybe you're an entrepreneur, a podcaster, a vlogger, whatever you want to do. Social media is something that you take seriously. And so because of that, being consistent on social media can feel absolutely impossible. It's that feeling where every single week you have a million content ideas, you have the perfect vision board, the perfect plan, you're just so excited, you have your goals, and then every single week, the analysis paralysis comes in, the execution issues, and your social media feed is basically empty. But lucky for you, I know that feeling so well. I really do think that being consistent on social media is a skill that you have to build, and it is a skill that I unfortunately was not naturally born with. I overthink everything. I'm a huge perfectionist. I love planning and goals and vision boards and all of that. I find that so fun, but the actual execution on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, this podcast has been something that I have found so difficult to be consistent with for so many different reasons. And so over the years, I have actually done quite a few things that have helped me so much in my content creation systems, my routine, to actually be consistent. And so today I'm going to be breaking all of those down. I'm so excited. So we have a lot to unpack today. And then after that, we're going to get into content ideas for your content calendar this week. As you can tell by the timestamps below and the date of this episode going live, it's a very exciting themed week this week in the world of social media and content when it comes to the content ideas for the week. So I'm really excited about that. But before we get into that, we need to talk about all the ways that you're going to be messily consistent on social media. And after you listen to this episode, you're going to hear other people talking about how they can't be consistent on social media, and you're going to not relate. You're going to think that used to be me, and that's not me anymore because I post all the time and I don't get burnt out. I don't spiral because I have all these new tools in my toolkit as a content creator. Also, if you're new, welcome to Busy Blooming. This is your office for social media and content creation. If you're new, make sure to subscribe, grab your desk. You've just clocked into work without even realizing it. You're actually on the clock right now. We are all content creators, social media managers, influencers, podcasters, entrepreneurs, all creating content on social media. And every single Monday, we start our week together in our industry of social media and content. And so every single Monday, they give you content ideas, what needs to come across your desk. And then we, of course, have a meeting to unpack what we need to unpack. So with all that being said, let's get into it. I'm so excited for today's episode. Let's talk about how to be consistent and be a little bit messily consistent on social media. First thing we need to talk about today is the fact that being a content creator and posting on social media comes with this feeling of overwhelm and chaos in so many ways. Not only with the project management, content planning side of social, of what to post, how to post on every single platform, content ideas, captions, all of that, but also figuring out why content's working, why content is flopping. And let me tell you, my all-time favorite tool that I have never seen anything like this in over 10 years of working in social media and content is Rella. Rella is the best tool for content creation and social media in so many ways. It's genius, and I'm going to break down exactly how it's going to make you get your life together as a content creator. Okay, so firstly, Rella is the best project management tool for creators. It's literally designed for social media and content. It has the most beautiful content calendar, so you can plan your partnerships, your personal content, brainstorm content ideas, and also you can schedule and auto post your content on all the platforms that you need. So you can organize and plan and schedule all your content in one place on Rella, which is amazing. But also my favorite feature of Rella, which again, there is nothing like this, is Ella, their AI. It's literally like having a content coach and a content manager. You actually put in all of your branding, which I love. I think it's so important. Your brand voice, your goals, your content pillars, all of that into Ella. But also it syncs up with their social media. So it connects to your Instagram, your TikTok, your YouTube, and it acts as a data analyst for you. So it will take all your analytics and tell you what content's working, what content isn't working. But the coolest part is that it will give you advice based on that. Even more, it can build you out a content calendar and populate it into your content calendar in Rella. It is actually everything you need to get your life together, get organized, but also get ahead and grow on social media. It is the coolest tool. I love Rella so much. If you want to start using Rella, the link is in the description. Go check it out using that link. You can also use code BusyBlooming for 30% off annual plans or 30% off 3 months. So go check them out. It's linked below. And thank you so much to Rella for sponsoring today's episode. And let's clock in and go to work. Okay, so when it comes to consistency, today I want to focus on the consistency of your content schedule, your posting schedule. Because you've probably heard me say this before, that I think there's two types of consistency when it comes to social and content. Firstly, of course, is your posting schedule. But then secondly is your energy. Your brand is consistent. Your content feels cohesive. It's not just random content. There's something that ties it all together. You have a consistent brand. Your audience always feels the same way when they watch your content. And I would argue that that is more important than the consistency in your posting schedule. It is better, in my opinion, to post 2 or 3 times a week, consistent on-brand content that gets you closer to where you want to go, than 10 times of random content that makes no sense and doesn't help you at all as a creator. But with that in mind, I do think it is important, obviously, to post and show up as a creator. So the first one is that I want you to address the core root problem that is causing this inconsistency. If you relate to the sentiment that you have all these ideas, a great content calendar, all these goals, things you want to do, but you aren't executing what you want to do, not being consistent is a symptom of a core problem, the root problem that is causing that. So rather than just saying, oh, I can't be consistent, that's not who I am, I can't be consistent, I need you to stop identifying as that and address what is really going on here. For example, if you feel like you don't have any content ideas or you don't know what to post, that is a symptom of the core, deeper problem being that your foundation as a creator or as a person who posts on social is not solid. You don't know what your brand is, what you want to talk about, your goals, your direction. Maybe you do, but you're out of alignment. You're not addressing that. You don't maybe know who your target audience is. Like, you don't have a good foundation in place as a creator, and that's causing this feeling of having no ideas or not knowing what to post. Another example is maybe you feel like you just don't have enough time to create content. That is a symptom of a core problem, that the content you're creating right now is not a good ROI of your busy schedule. I know what it's like to have a busy schedule. I worked a 9-to-5 job and built up a podcast, a business, and social. I worked all around the clock for years. It is really hard to be consistent and post regularly when you have a 9-to-5 job, and maybe you're a parent, maybe you're an entrepreneur, have a million things going on in your life. You just have a busy life. And I'm sure most people over here are quite busy. We're busy blooming. And so the inconsistency because you don't have enough time is a symptom of the core problem that the content you're creating is taking too long. For example, doing day in my life vlogs, in my opinion, is like the lowest ROI of your time. It takes so long to create a day in my life vlog on whatever platform, short form, long form. It takes forever. Film your day, edit it, voiceover, all of that takes so long, versus creating a carousel on your notes app or a text on screen or holding up your phone or setting up your camera and filming a 30-second chatty video. So no time is usually a symptom of the type of content you're making. All this being said, the first thing I want you to do is address the core problem that is causing this inconsistency for you. And maybe it's a few things. For me, as a full-time creator, this is what I have to do all day, is create content, work at Busy Blooming HQ, create content for Instagram, TikTok, this podcast. Like, this is my full-time job, and I still struggle with consistency. For me, it's not a time problem or of a lack of ideas, but for me, I find that it is a perfectionist overthinking problem. I am somebody, I think, so deeply about everything. Everything is that serious. It is that deep. And especially with social and content, when I'm recording a podcast or making a TikTok, doing a carousel, I'm always thinking like, okay, is this exactly what I'd be saying if I had 1 million followers? Or is this getting me exactly where I want to go? Is this the right tone? Could I do this better? Is this what I really want to be posting? Is this helpful? Is there a funnier way I could say this? Like, I am constantly overanalyzing. And the core problem with that is usually that I'm stuck in a kind of functional freeze mode, and I need to almost rewire my neural pathways to see a new reality that you actually can be consistent, post, and think less. And that overthinking analysis paralysis usually comes down to the fact that I have not ever really pushed myself to just post content that's 80% good, and like build this skill and train your brain to think, okay, I actually can just like push through and post something. And that is a skill that takes time that you have to develop through practice, through just pressing post. Okay, moving on. Once you've addressed the core problem, what's going on, what's getting in the way, also maybe it's lifestyle things you're doing, your schedule, maybe you're scrolling on your phone way too much. Been there. That's one of the biggest things that I feel like kills consistency and creativity is scrolling. I have a brick. It has changed my life. But secondly, something that gets in the way with consistency is trying to do everything. Trying to post every single day on TikTok and Instagram, also on maybe your business's Instagram, create a podcast, have a YouTube channel, create clips from your podcast, be on LinkedIn, be on Pinterest, start a business. You're trying to do too much. And this is me talking to myself when I was 23 doing all this. And now being almost 29, I wish I could go back and tell myself, starting on social, to stop trying to do everything and be everything all at once. Something that has actually changed my life when it comes to consistency is prioritizing everything that I do. And I talk about this all the time, but I'm going to say it again. It is so important to not view your social media platforms as a line that they're all equally weighted. You have to post on all of them. You need to have them in a hierarchy. Number one priority for me is this podcast. Number two is the busy blooming Instagram. Then my TikTok, then my Instagram is last. The number one thing that's important to me is that I'm consistent with this podcast show every Monday. Secondly, the busy blooming Instagram. This frees up space in your mind so much. One of the reasons you might be struggling with consistency is because you're trying to do too much and post on way too many platforms. In my opinion, it is so great to just have two. I really focus on YouTube and Instagram. So stop telling yourself the story that you need to be on everything to be successful in social media. You don't. So stop doing so much and do a little bit less in terms of all the platforms that you're trying to be on. Speaking of that, this brings me to my next point, which is that you need to stop saying so much in your content. You need to say less in your content. This is also something that has changed my life. When I used to post content on social, specifically on TikTok, I used to do TikTok full time back in 2023. It was my biggest platform. All my brand deals, my whole time and attention went into TikTok. And when I would go to create TikTok content, and this applies to the show as well, I would create a TikTok about how to grow on social media. Like, that is a broad topic. Or for example, let's say you're a fitness creator and you're doing a video about how to get your dream body. Like, there is so much that goes into that. And so for me, a big thing that would get in the way of my consistency is I was packing way too much into every video. Same with a day in my life. It would be the entire day. From 6 a.m. when I'd wake up to when I go to bed, the vlog is the whole day rather than doing a morning vlog or an afternoon vlog. With your content on social, specifically on Instagram Reels and TikTok, rather than making these 3-4 minute long TikToks, even 2 minutes, make more like 30 to 60 second TikToks about one specific takeaway or thing, rather than trying to shove so much into all your carousels, all your videos, all your episodes. With this podcast, when I started really doing it last year on YouTube, I would have these hour-long video deep dives, which would take me weeks to plan. It would be basically an hour-long course on these very deep, broad topics of growing on social media. And that would kind of get in the way of my consistency because I couldn't post one of those every single week. They took me so long to create. And so that can also be a huge reason consistency feels impossible. Not saying that you can't do the content ever, but it shouldn't be the main bulk of all your content. Try to think of your content as answering a question rather than giving a guide, and save the guides for weekly or monthly, if that makes sense. Okay, next up, kind of related to that, is that you need to break up with the obsession and the reliance almost on clean slates and fresh starts. This hits home for me, and I shared this in the last week's episode because we've been talking a lot about messiness and messy consistency. That's the whole vibe right now for fall in the Busy Blooming office. Is our fall 2025 vibe is think less, post more, be messily consistent. We've been talking about it a lot, and I shared this last week that I am somebody who I live in black and white. I love it that way. I always have struggled with balance in every part of my life. And so when it comes to content, I find that I'm such a 100 or 0 person that I would rather post nothing and start fresh on a Monday than if it's Thursday and I haven't posted anything. I won't just like post on Friday, Saturday. I'll just be like, I'm going to start fresh on Monday, or I'm going to start fresh next month, or I'm going to start fresh next quarter, next year, or whatever it is. That being said, I talk all the time over here about seasons, eras, quarters. Having fresh seasons of content all the time I think is so important. But if you relate to kind of living in black and white, being 100 or 0 type of person, as a creator, it's going to be really hard to be consistent because you you need to be messy. And we talked about this last week in After Hours. And there's a couple of ways that I do this and have really forced myself to just post, get comfortable posting content that's like not perfect, that I could do better, whatever it is. We always talk about posting content that's 80% good. Stop aiming for 100. One thing I actually do is that I will set a 30-minute timer on my phone, and I will say, okay, it's 7 p.m. I haven't posted anything on Instagram today or TikTok today. I'm going to spend 30 minutes, and whatever I come up with in 30 minutes, I'm just going to post it. Whether it's a text on screen video, a carousel, I pull an old vlog clip from last year and do a quick voiceover of reminder of something. I prop on my camera and really quickly film 10 minutes talking about a piece of bad advice I don't like whatever it is. I spend 30 minutes. That's all I get, and I post whatever I can do in 30 minutes. It is such a good way to retrain your brain to learn that you can just push through and post even when the content is not perfect, and you would rather push it off and wait and just start fresh is to be that messy of like, it's Thursday, I haven't posted all week, don't wait till Monday, spend 30 minutes and just post. A few things that help create actually more content in less time is to firstly get as much content as you can out of one idea or one filming session possible. We talk about this a lot as well, but you need to create a factory line of content, an ecosystem of content, however you want to think about it. There's two pieces to this. So getting as much content out of every idea, but then also everything you film. So firstly, let's chat about an idea. So let's take this content idea. I'm having this idea for content for a podcast episode where it's how to be consistent, how to be messy on social media. So I could do a podcast episode about this. I could do a text on screen video of me typing my laptop with text on screen about this is your reminder to be messy consistently. Then I could do another text on screen video with some tips of how to actually do that. I can do a notes app carousel with how to be messy. I could do a day in my life vlog. The voiceover is all about consistency and my tips. I could do a talking to camera video on my phone. I could do a get ready with me talking about it. It's one idea, but I'm getting like 10 pieces of content from the one idea, all different styles. The second piece of this is getting as much content as you can out of your footage. Whether it's a long form video that you clip up, or maybe I take this audio and I underlay it over a vlog or one single clip. If I'm filming a day in my life, that's like a month worth of B-roll of my coffee, me working, me getting dressed, doing my makeup, going to work out. All of that content I can use in simple 7-second text on screen videos. I can re-edit it for next month, do a voiceover of like a reminder rather than the day of my life. Squeezing everything you can out of what you film and what ideas you have is so integral to being consistent on social media, because that's when you really start working smarter, not harder. And also, speaking of that, another way to be more consistent in terms of actually creating content is repeating yourself all the time. You have to remember, when you are posting content on social media, you are posting it for your followers, but also anticipating people who have never seen you before will see your content. Don't be afraid to repeat yourself. What I have done in the past, if I really am needing some ideas for content, I will go through my most viewed TikToks, Reels, YouTube videos, and I will just remake them. One of my most viewed TikToks has a few million views, is a 60-second guide to create content when you don't have time. I made that years ago. I have like a green screen setup for that, and I could remake that video and say the exact same thing but do a carousel version or refilm it in like a nicer filming setup. It's repeating something I've already said, but also just repeating yourself in general. I could do 5 different videos this week on Instagram or on TikTok about how to be messily consistent. Not only because people are going to see it for the first time who've never heard me before, but also people who follow you need to hear things a few times for it to really resonate. And if they've heard it before, it's a good reminder. And if you want to be known for certain things, like certain expertise, certain branding things, your personal brand, you as an influencer, whatever it is, you have to repeat yourself all the time and have repetition of those things so you become known for it. So you establish yourself in that way. And when it comes to actually creating the content, another thing that helps a lot with consistency is playing into your strengths when you're filming content. Your strengths and my strengths are different. For example, I find it really easy to talk, obviously. I find creating those like long-winded notes app carousels really easy. They take me no time. But I find vlogging actually quite difficult. Like having my iPhone throughout the day to vlog my whole day, I find kind of hard. And it's a resistance point for me of something I've always really wanted to get into, but I find it doesn't come naturally. I'm not like flowing all the time just vlogging. But some people find it so easy to just like vlog their day. Maybe you find it really easy to take a lot of aesthetic content. And so text on screen aesthetic content is really easy for you. Get ready with me content's really easy. Get dressed with me content. Like whatever content is really easy for you is so important to pay pay attention to, because that is how you're going to maintain consistency and be sustainable, is figuring out the types of content that is easy. And when you find something that is easy, don't reinvent the wheel all the time. Reuse the same types of content. We call these over here at Busy Blooming content templates. I have a content template of notes app carousels, having this camera sitting right here flipped over to film vertical videos. Those are pretty much my two content templates. I don't really post any other content because it's really easy for me to film and create. Both of those pieces of content resonate and work. So don't always reinvent brand new types of content execution styles. Figure out your templates, figure out what works, and just stick to those throughout the week. And it takes away so much of the creative process of like how we're going to execute all your ideas, because you know what works. Also ensure that your content styles and what you're posting every single week in your calendar is a mix of content that's easy and more time consuming to create. Add in 7-second text on screens or carousels or 30-second talking videos. Like really check in on your content calendar and think, okay, how long is all of this content going to take me to make? And is it too much heavy like day in my life videos? Or maybe day in the lives are easy for you, but is there a mix of content that is easy and quick versus more time consuming to create? Okay, and lastly, this kind of speaks for itself, but the most important thing when it comes to being consistent, posting on social media more, showing up, posting daily, weekly, whatever you want to do, is to post content when you don't feel like it. This is a very layered tip for me personally, because I am very understanding of things like mental health issues, big things that happen in your life, health things, just real life gets in the way. And I have experienced that in a lot of ways. And so I will say at the core of all of this, we're human beings and we have life, and sometimes life takes the priority over our content schedule and you just can't post. Social media and content is just not something you can prioritize. But assuming that that is not the case, there is so much confidence that comes from posting content when you don't feel like it. When you tell yourself you're going to post content 5 times a week and you end every week and you have posted nothing, it is killing your confidence more than you realize. Not doing things that you tell yourself you're going to do affects you on a deeper level besides just social. And showing up and just setting a 30-minute timer, even when you don't feel like it, even when you're exhausted, pushing yourself for 30 minutes to just post a carousel, a text on screen, something builds your confidence and rewires your brain to think, okay, I actually am consistent. I actually am growing. And half the time, I swear the content that is done so well that I had to really push myself to post has done amazing. That ChatGPT YouTube video I made is a YouTube video posted about a month ago. It has over 100,000 views on YouTube. I was really going through something that week. I woke up at 8 a.m. I filmed that video in like 30 minutes, edited and posted it the same day, because I woke up the day, I'm like, I want to post a video every single week. I'm just going to do this today, get it done. Whatever I film, it's going to be fine. And that video did amazing. This is something that you will hear all the time from content coaches and creators. So just like push yourself, show up, you don't feel like it. It's that very like hustly culture. But I do think, trust me, it usually feels better to just, even if it's for 30 minutes, just push through and post. Of course, unless you need to pull back and take a break, and that is like really what you need and you're going to feel better. But just try to push yourself a little bit every single day. 30-minute timer with your coffee, whatever you post, just post it. Or 1 hour timer, whatever you need to do. But showing up and being disciplined with social media and posting content that you don't think is that good, but it's on brand, it's good enough, it is getting you closer where you want to go. It feels good. It's good for your confidence as a creator. It's obviously amazing for growth as well. And on Instagram, actually, Busy Blooming at Instagram and HQ, I have deemed October to be the messy, consistent month. Like the theme of this month, both internally at the team at Busy Blooming and for myself, but also just for all of us, I think we should use the month of October to try this, push ourselves, be messily consistent, post content that's messy, that's not perfect, and just get your confidence back. Get this part of your brain back where you think, no, I can show up. I can just post. You're testing. You're figuring it out. It's so important for growth, but also just figuring all these things out. Every time you post, you're learning something, whether it flops, whether it does amazing, whether you like the style, the editing, the process of how you filmed it, a hook, like something, there is always a takeaway. And so the more you post, the more takeaways that you get. So I hope that is helpful. If you are watching this in real time, I encourage you to join the October daily posting being messy challenge. I've been having so much fun recently on the show talking talking about being messily consistent and posting and just thinking less and posting more. And so I hope this was helpful of some tangible tips of how I do this all the time. And I think that's everything I wanted to say for today's meeting. Now let's get into content ideas and what needs to come across your desk this week. And because of the time of posting this, it's a very fun weekly theme for your content ideas. So let's get into it. Okay, so before we get into content ideas, because that's going to lead us into the after hours topic, which I'm so excited about, I wanted to just give one platform update that the CEO of Instagram posted this week, Adam Mosseri. He did an Instagram Q&A on his personal Instagram stories. He's a great follow, by the way. But this was the only thing I felt like needed to come across your desk this week, is that he posted on his Instagram stories that if you post trial reels and then reels in feed on Instagram, if you post the same video on your reel and your trial reel, it won't push them both out. This is something I know exists on TikTok and Instagram, that you can't post the same piece of content twice. It won't push them out twice. It will suppress the second one you post because it says this is content that already exists. And I actually did not know this for Instagram trial reels. This is something I have actually done where I have posted my reel on Instagram as a trial reel, the exact same piece of content. My trial reel had literally one view. And so if that is the case for you, if your trial reels have been flopping and it's the exact same reel that you already posted, that could be why. I thought I would bring that across your desk this week because I did not know that, and I thought it was absolutely pertinent that we all know that this week. Other than that, on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, nothing crazy happened. There's a bunch of AI things going on that I will talk about next week because there's new AI feeds and all of that, but that is a next week topic because today we need to now get into the content ideas, which I'm so excited about. So let's get into it. Okay, so this week's content ideas and after hours is going to be under the theme of Taylor Swift's new album, The Life of a Showgirl, and how to use Taylor Swift's new album in your content calendar this week. I have so many The Life of a Showgirl coded content ideas for your content calendar this week. So if you don't like Taylor Swift, that's okay. This is a safe space. But regardless, if you like her or if you don't, you can't deny that the biggest thing trending on social media right now is The Life of a Showgirl. And so I came up with some unique ideas that I haven't seen yet on social that I'm going to do this week that I am so excited about. I actually already did one of how to get The Life of a Showgirl as content creators into her content calendar. So I'm going to go through 3 The Life of a Showgirl themed content ideas for Instagram and TikTok and YouTube actually as well. And then I'm going to give a quick breakdown and after hours of my thoughts on the Taylor Swift album. Let's get into it. The Life of a Showgirl segment of the show this week. This is not normal for Busy Blooming Podcast. If this is the first time you're watching, usually I give a trend breakdown of what's trending, content ideas, but because it is the rare occurrence of a new Taylor Swift album, we have to do this week. I'm so excited. Okay, so I have 3 content ideas today. I actually have 6 The Life of a Showgirl themed content ideas in the Busy Blooming HQ content report, and then I actually have 6 additional ideas. So there are 12 content ideas this week in Busy Blooming HQ, which is our digital office. It's $25 a month. You get weekly content ideas, 2 weekly lives from me. You can access all the department chats. It's truly a place to clock into work with other creators, other freelancers, social media managers. Every week in the show, I pull some of the ideas from the content report and share them with you. So I will share a few of the Life of the Showgirl ones. Okay, so the first content idea is called Stop Talking Dirty to Me. And so this is from her song, Actually Romantic. And so this song is all about Charlie XCX, but the whole concept of the song is about somebody who hates you, and it's kind of a twist on it that they're actually like obsessed with you and that they love you. So one of the lyrics of the song is stop talking dirty to me, and she's referring about insults that somebody said to her. And so I actually thought this could be such a fun content idea to do a 7-second video with text on screen of an insult that somebody would say to you and people in your audience that you guys will all relate to. And then you're mouthing the words, stop talking dirty to me, about an insult that you think is like funny. So for example, I could put text on the screen of your content on social media is so cringe. Or if you're a fashion creator, you could have text on screen that says your boyfriend's gonna hate that outfit. Or if you're a confidence mindset creator, you could have text on screen that says you've changed so much. And then you're like, stop talking dirty to me. Like, I love that insult. That's hilarious. Okay, the next content idea is something that I actually just posted posted yesterday. And this is from her song, the last song on the album with Serena Carpenter, The Life of a Showgirl. And I've been seeing a few people do certain takes on this, but I think it's such a fun idea to use the bridge of the song to create a 10-second video, the life of either a blankaholic, like the life of a shopaholic. I did the life of a contentaholic, or just saying like the life of what you do or what you're working on. So the life of, I saw somebody say, of a marathon runner, of a content creator, of a podcaster, or you could attach it to a goal of like the life of somebody who's trying to get her dream body or romanticize her 9-to-5 job. And then the video is the 10-second bridge with a bunch of beats, and you just have all of these different clips of behind the scenes that relates to the text on screen. So for me, I did the life of a contentaholic, and then I also did a version on Instagram Reels that was the life of a, and then in brackets it said content strategist showgirl, which I think is really cute. And there was all just behind the scene clips to this 10-second bridge of content of me working. There are so many fun ways you can do this, the life of a, whether it's more inward focused about what you do, showing behind the scenes, or if you want it to be more saveable and shareable, you can make it more outward focused as something more like relatable, like a shopaholic, or the life of somebody who is obsessed with Pilates or Pilatesaholic, like something like that people would repost or share. There's two different perspectives you can have, but I think this is such a fun idea and I love it. Okay, and the third idea, I have not seen this, but this plays on the trend that is going around right now about Kanye's list of betrayals. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I've seen this everywhere, but it's ultimately this trend that's been going around about Kanye West, which is a little bit surprising to me just because it's, for obvious reasons, surprising that people are talking about him. But there's this trend going around, it's carousels, 2 slides. The first one says, because Kanye made his list of betrayals, here's mine. And then the second is like a notes app screenshot of a list of things that betrayed them. Like people are joking around about things that betrayed them, like the Toronto Maple Leafs or whatever. So what I was thinking is that using the Taylor Swift album of it all is, what if we did a piece of content that was a carousel and it was 2 slides and it says, because Taylor Swift wrote wish list, here's mine. And then the second slide is not just a wish list of products, but it's things that you want to happen to you or the world that relate to your brand. So for example, I could say, because Taylor Swift wrote wish list, here's mine as a content creator. And then my wish list would be things like TikTok to start paying Canadian creators, for haters to be automatically removed from TikTok, like things like that. Let's say you're on a fitness journey and you could say, because Taylor Swift wrote wish list, here's mine as somebody on a fitness journey. And then your wish list could be things like chocolate is 0 calories, my knees don't hurt when I run. Like, do you know what I mean? I think this is such a fun content idea, not only because it's fun to just have a wish list, it relates to Taylor Swift's album, it's so trendy right now, but also it's the Kanye and Taylor of it all, like the juxtaposition there, because obviously all of that background. I think it's fun to turn the Kanye West trend into a Taylor Swift trend. And so that's using her song Wishlist, obviously, as the music of the carousel. And then for all of these, what I would do is obviously use her song on TikTok and Instagram, but also use the hashtags Taylor Swift, The Life of a Showgirl, just to get into the algorithm. Also, if you're going to do a day in your life or whatever, use some of the Taylor Swift emojis, like the disco ball, the orange heart, just like add a little bit more branding to it. But there are so many fun ideas I have this week for The Life of a Showgirl, Taylor Swift. I'm obviously a big Swiftie, and I think it's just so fun when she's trending on social, is creators and Swifties coming together. There's so much fun content we can do this week. So those are 3 ideas. I have 3 more really fun ones in Busy Blooming HQ, in addition to, I think, 12 total ideas this week in HQ's content idea report that I'm going to post. So if you want me to fill up your content calendar this week, go check out Busy Blooming HQ. But those are my content ideas. That's what needs to come across your desk. Now, as an extension of this, let's get into After Hours. And we obviously need to discuss the Taylor Swift album. Okay, so welcome to After Hours. Usually After Hours is a time where I go into more behind the scenes, personal details about the topic. So today's topic about being messy and how to be consistent on social media is something I do have a lot of thoughts on, but we have been talking so much about in the last few episodes. So After Hours is also occasionally a place to talk about other trending things on social media. So I thought for this week, I would super quick break down my thoughts on The Life of a Showgirl. I won't keep you here for too long, but I think it's just fun to talk about because I know at the Busy Bling office, we do have some Swifties and or people who have Swifties in their life. So here are my thoughts on Life of a Showgirl. Let's unpack. So for context, my favorite Taylor Swift album is TTPD. I know every breath, every syllable, every lyric. I have listened to that album, I don't even know how many times, 100 times plus. That album is very heavy and very deep, and at the timing of when it came out last year, it was just the perfect album for me. I love it so much. And some additional context is that my least favorite songs on that album are So High School and The Alchemy, which are the two songs on that album about Travis Kelce. So going into The Life of a Showgirl, knowing that it was going to be a pop album, very upbeat, I knew it probably wouldn't really be my cup of tea, because I also just don't generally love Taylor Swift's more poppy albums. I love Folklore, Evermore, TTPD, like those are my favorites. But one of my favorite songs on TTPD is I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. I love that song. It means so much to me. And so when Taylor Swift came out with The Life of a Showgirl announcement, she was saying that it was going to be kind of behind the scenes of the Eras Tour, which I loved that, because I thought, okay, it's going to be like behind the scenes of the Eras Tour. It's going to be like I Can Do It With a Broken Heart in a whole album. Like, that's my dream. But when I listened to the album on Friday, I have listened to the album, I think 10 or 12 times. I've listened to it a lot throughout the weekend. And I think like everybody else, my first initial listen, I was thinking, what is this album even about? It doesn't feel cohesive. It also doesn't really feel like it's about the Eras Tour. The lyrics also surprised me, like so many people. The lyrics of track number 5, Eldest Daughter, of I'm not a bad bitch, I'm not a savage. At first, I thought jail time, that should be illegal. Like, what is going on with these lyrics? It's giving the AI song that came out of Travi Made It to the Big Game, which that song slaps. But I was just really confused at some of the lyrics. So anyways, now after my like 12th or 13th listen, I feel like I get it. I get the album. I've also listened to all of her interviews. I watched the Swiftologist break it down. I'm obsessed with him. His reaction to Wood was so funny. And this is actually my personal interpretation of the album. I don't know if anyone will agree with this, but this is her 12th album. And obviously Taylor Swift, the number 13 is like her number, right? And so her next album, Taylor Swift 13, is going to be the craziest thing ever. Like, I think it's going to just be her best album. Yeah, I'm sure there are songs that she has been saving for her 13th album. And I'm actually thinking, okay, what if this 12th album, in a way, is her finale of her life as a showgirl? Because the album now, if you look into her interviews or different deep dives about what each song is about, each song actually does relate to something about her life. And you could also argue, I've been seeing people say this online, that each song should be on one of her 12 albums. The album is 12 tracks. She has 12 past albums, and you could actually slot each song into one of those past 12 albums. And so what if this album for her, I don't know, but what if this album for her is kind of her finale of this is my life as a showgirl. This is 12 different things and perspectives that I've never shared about my life. Rather than it being about her life on the Eras Tour, it's the behind the scenes of her life and what it has been as her life as a showgirl. And she's kind of closing this chapter on being this big performer, the Eras Tour, all of that. And she's obviously stepping into this next chapter of getting married, potentially having kids. And so this is like the 12 things that she hasn't really said either about her life or where she is right now. Because, for example, the Thick song in the album, Ruin the Friendship, is about the loss of her friend when she was in high school, which she has talked about once before, but that's something she hasn't talked about very much. So that's a piece of her life that maybe she wanted to share. The song Actually Romantic obviously is about Charlie XCX and their whole feud that she hasn't really addressed ever. Father Figure, people are saying, is about Olivia Rodrigo, something she hasn't really talked about. Obviously, the first 3 songs are all about Travis Kelce. Canceled, I believe, is about Blake Lively, which she's never talked about. Like, I feel like she had some things she wanted to kind of tie up to end this whole era of her life of being the life of a showgirl, some things she wanted to address. And it's kind of this finale that is so fun and so upbeat. So that is an overarching takeaway I had for the album. I thought, okay, I think she wanted to close this chapter and kind of close one chapter per album, if that makes sense, on her 12th album. And then I have to say, after listening to her interviews on different radio shows and talk shows she went on, I loved the album so much more than I did the first first listen because some of the lyrics should have jail time the first listen you have. But after I listened to her interviews, for example, the song Wood, diabolical lyrics, but watching her on the show, like laughing so hard about how crazy and funny and ridiculous those lyrics are, I'm like, okay, I get the vibe. Like, I get it. She's joking. Like, it's a big, fun, unserious, like, it is not that deep album that she was probably laughing, doing a lot of the lyrics and just having so much fun with it, which made me like it more because the person who wrote TTBD and Folklore is no longer with us with this album. And so I don't think she's sitting there writing the lyrics to Wood thinking that they're so deeply emotional and groundbreaking. I think she thinks they're funny and she's just having fun. She doesn't care. I do have to say, I don't think the lyrics are very Taylor coded in Wood and Eldest Daughter as much as they usually are, which is a little bit surprising. And a lot of people are talking about the lyrics in general. They're saying they're just not very good, but I actually think that is the intention, the point behind this album is that it is unserious. She's entering this new chapter, this new era where things aren't as serious. They're not as deep. And she has songs, obviously, like Me, and tons of other hits, Shake It Off, that the lyrics are not groundbreaking, but it's fun and unserious, and I think she's bringing intentionally that energy. Everything Taylor Swift does is very intentional, and so I feel like what people are missing on social media about, like, making fun of the lyrics or not understanding them is that they're not giving her enough credit about her intentionality with everything. Nothing she does is ever a mistake, and she is so self-aware, I feel like, with her music. She knows what people are going to think. She knows that an eldest daughter saying, I'm not a bad bitch, I'm not a savage. She knows the context of those two words in TikTok and in social media world. That being said, when I first listened to Eldest Daughter, I hated that song. Like, I hated the lyrics, but I'm on like my 12th listen and I was listening to it this morning, getting ready to record this, and I was thinking it actually hit. Like, the lyrics are starting to hit that I'm not a bad bitch, I'm not a savage lyrics. And I was thinking, I'm like, I am not either of those things. Like, I'm actually someone who's very sensitive and feels very deeply about everything, and I so understand what she's saying. So after doing some more work of understanding what every single song is about, her interviews of the intention, what she was trying to do, I feel like it just makes so much more sense. Because at a first listen, if you're used to TTBD and then you get into this, you're thinking, what is going on? But I actually love the album right now. I don't think there is a single skip. My top 3 favorite songs are the first 3 songs. The Fate of Ophelia, Elizabeth Taylor, and Opalite are like 3 of my favorite Taylor Swift songs of all time. And then my least favorite song is Canceled. I don't skip it, but I just don't love that song. I just don't love the actual like music of it. But I love this funny, unserious, it's not deep era that she's having. It's very not like the album we just had last year, which I love that. She was saying as well in an interview, the fun thing about this album versus other ones is that she's usually not in the same place by the time she writes it to when it gets released. And with this album, she's in the exact same place that she was when she wrote it. So she's in this like funny, unserious era, which I just think is so fun. And we all just need to have fun. Like, we all need some fun in our life. I love it. Comparing it to Sabrina Carpenter's most recent album, that one as well, I needed to give it at least 3 listens to really like it. That album, I find myself, I don't go back to it. I don't really listen to it. But this Taylor Swift album, I cannot stop listening to it. I just need to have it on all the time. And so sure, some of the lyrics aren't the most groundbreaking, deep metaphors, but I feel like it is so fun. And the music itself, the music is so good. So I do love the album. I've listened to it a million times. I'm going to keep listening to it. It took me a lot of deep diving and research to figure out exactly what every song was about. But then the more you know what the song was about and what she's trying to do, it just makes you like it more. So I like it. I'm dying to know your thoughts. I asked you a lot of you on Instagram and there were so many responses. So I'm like, okay, we had to talk about this on the podcast. But if you're a creator this week and a Swiftie, which I'm sure you are if you're watching this episode, use some of this content to get in the life of a showgirl on your Instagram, on your TikTok, on your YouTube. You can even do a YouTube vlog using like the life of a showgirl or like the life of a blank with some of the Taylor Swift emojis as your YouTube title. Like, how fun is that? Anyways, thank you so much for watching today's episode. This was so fun. It's something a little bit different this week, but I just think it's so fun. I hope you're doing well. I hope my voice wasn't too annoying to listen to, at least not more annoying than usual. I have been sick with the flu all week and I think my voice is like kind of coming back. So thank you so much for listening. Also, thank you again to Rella for sponsoring today's episode. Go check out Rella. They are so great to sponsor this week's episode specifically. The topic is perfect. So go check them out. out, link them down below. Use code BusyBlooming. And thank you so much for tuning in. Let's have an amazing week with a fresh Taylor Swift album, a fresh week in October, and let's be massively consistent this week with our content. And I'll see you next Monday if you're in Busy Blooming HQ. I'll see you for the live audit session on Thursday. And thanks for clocking in, and I'll see you guys next week. Okay, bye.